I've been with Discovery Vitality for this year's 11 years, actually.
How do you first see if you're burning out, and how do you sort of sidestep that?
I don't think you see it. Your body tells you. I did experience that. After COVID, my responsibility at Vitality increased. You just keep going because you need to work, you need to keep the kids happy and make sure everything's okay with them. And then your body comes to a point where it's like, that's enough. And that's also the point where I realized I can't work like this anymore. There's this mindset that people need to train like an athlete in order to get the health benefits of being active, right? But what we've seen from our research, if they did 60 minutes of exercise, not a day, in a week, there was a 47% lower incidence of cancer mortality or all-cause mortality. You don't need to do a lot, and just start small. Start with small steps, and that elicits actually big changes.
Marie Leach, Discovery, welcome to the Blue Room.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Do you just want to tell us a little bit about you first, and then what you do and who you work for?
Okay, so I'm a registered biokineticist. I've been in private practice for 20 plus years, and then been with Discovery Vitality for this year's 11 years, actually. So I'm part of the clinical team, and we look after the wellness and the clinical integrity of the Discovery Vitality program. And that's the work life. So I'm also a mom of 2 girls and married, a wife. My girls, one in primary school, and we've just got high schooler now. So still adjusting to the new schedule, but yeah,
And then where did you grow up?
in Welkom, in the Free State. Yeah. So, and my dad didn't work on the mines. So that's the first question. Was your dad working on the mines? But no, yeah. So I grew up in the Free State, lots of family on farms. So half on the farm, half in town.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. And so Discovery 20 years?
So Discovery, 10 years, or
Okay.
11 this year.
On the Vitality, okay.
Yeah, Vitality.
And before that, private practice.
Yes, yeah.
What made you go corporate?
So at the time, one of my clients was into like a corporate wellness company, and we were just chatting about, just exploring different opportunities. And and then he offered and said, like, listen, why not try consulting first? Because for me, thinking about corporate, I felt like I was going to suffocate. Never. It won't be me.
Yeah.
But I did feel like I'm looking for a different challenge. Obviously, my first love was practice and helping people, and you can see it. They come to you with their injuries, you help them tick, they get better, and they go. But I felt like I needed like a different challenge, just mentally, and maybe there could be a bigger impact at a larger scale. So it was nice. I got the opportunity to do consulting work then at Discovery, and it was just a few days a week first, and then it grew into more days or like longer hours, let's put it as such. And then COVID hit, and then practice was really quiet. And then obviously there was a lot of work on Vitality because we had to make sure people stay active during that time. And it was just a slow transition that then eventually led to full-time work at Discovery, and then still have the practice. Got a biokineticist working for me, so can still stay close to that side of my life, which is still a passion, but absolutely loving the work we do at Vitality.
And the sporty background? Most people who buys come from a sports background.
Yeah, so I actually didn't know what I wanted to become after school. So they told me go study something in science. So I did a BSc, and I thought instead of just doing a boring BSc, I would do the sports science or the human movement science at that time, and then biokinetics. So and then the idea, I studied in Stellies. The idea was just to come to Joburg for a year to do my internship and then go straight back to Cape Town. But here I am, still in Joburg and actually loving it.
Where did you meet husband? Up here?
In the gym, in a spinning class. So up here.
Okay.
Yeah. Where we now? 16 years this year ago. Yeah.
You missed the Cape, or you like Joburg?
At some point, I always, as you visit the Cape, you feel like, oh, I want to go back. But then it changed. It's nice to go there for a holiday. But I love the vibe of Joburg. Things are happening. I feel it doesn't feel like this big city, really. I mean, where we live, it's almost like a tiny little neighborhood, and you've got your own little town. So, I do love Joburg. So,
Before we get on to the work side of things, because I've got a lot of questions and I'm sure you got a lot of answers. In your personal capacity, work through, let's say, burnout? Because you're on corporate. How do you first see if you're burning out, and how do you sort of sidestep that?
I don't think you see it. Your body tells you. So I did experience that so after COVID, where my responsibility at Vitality increased and basically working full time, and then you still juggled a private practice. On the side, not on the side, actually, you still saw your patients. And then, yeah, just actually, you just keep going because you need to work, you need to keep the kids happy and make sure everything's okay with them now, recovering from COVID and even during that. And my husband work stopped. He's in the retail industry. They build shops and shop fitting and project management. So it was a lot on me. But and you keep going, right? So there's nothing of like you can stop and you do it. And then your body comes to a point where it's like, that's enough. And I actually got shingles. So I thought, this is a little rash. What is this? And went to the doctor, thank goodness. And she said, no, you actually have shingles. I'm like, that's an old people illness.
Isn't it
Maybe check again.
stress related, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I said, no, but that's what older people get. Maybe check the diagnosis again. And she says, no, like your symptoms check the box. And when I went back and researched, it was exactly that. And that's also at the point where I realized I can't work like this anymore. Yeah. And then the opportunity opened for me to work full time at Discovery. And looking back, I actually don't know how I coped with, you know, being there for your kids, exercising still, juggling two jobs. You managed, but you weren't coping.
Tell us one really cool thing about Discovery that most people don't know.
Vitality. Let me talk about. So Discovery is a big group. There's a whole lot of different business units, but I can speak to Vitality, what people don't know. So maybe I'll talk about the wellness team. So everybody thinks that we this very healthy team, and we are. I mean, I exercise regularly. The dietitians in our team live the healthy habits, but we do have this thing where we love bagels.
Bagels.
Bagels. And if something happened, any excuse that we can have, we like get the bagels from, if I may call the name, Klein's. I hope I say the name right. And that's our treat. And then nobody knows about it. And the wellness team go and sit and they eat the bagels with lots of cream cheese on it and the coffee and maybe some sweet snacks as well that comes with it.
So the Bagel Secret
Um,
Society.
so what people don't know is, yes, we're a wellness company, but we do have cake and all our treats as well. Yeah. So it's about balance.
Good. So chat us through what you do within Vitality.
Cool. So, like I said, we the clinical team, and we need to ensure that the clinical integrity of the Vitality products that go out and the benefits that we offer our members. So, I specifically look after the physical activity portfolio and how can we engage our members to become physically more active, because we know if they exercise more, we can make them healthier. And that captures basically the Vitality Run series that we do. We sponsor running clubs. There's about 16 events in a year where we sponsor the clubs events, and we just encourage people to come and participate. And we had over 70,000 people participate in these run events last year, and hoping to grow it even more this year. And we just painted pink. So I think you've seen all the Pink Team Vitality t-shirts. And the objective there is just really to take people from the couch, and we encourage them to go do a park run, which is one of our other partners. And we give members 300 points for attending a park run on a weekend. And then hopefully once they've done a park run and they get a little bit fitter, they're interested to go do an event, which is like the Vitality Run series. So there's really this whole pathway. We want to take them from the couch, and we don't necessarily want to turn them into marathon runners,
Yeah.
but we just want people to explore the possibilities of improving their fitness. So yeah, so those are the levers, just looking at all different ways. If you think about the physical activity portfolio, we've got very rich gym benefits as well. We heavily discount the gym fees to the
Planet
big Planet
Fitness.
Fitness.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. We've got the device benefit. We give people access to wearables that they can discount on. And we know that if they wear a wearable device like a fitness device, they are more active. Then there's the active gear benefit, where we give them discount to sports gear and equipment as well. Yeah, so there's all of these things in the physical activity space where we just have interventions in place so that we can change their behavior. So that's on the physical activity side. Yeah.
So behavioral changes, and I suppose it's what I like about it is the levels you're creating. You know, we always say our biggest thing, we want to inspire people with our fitness racing and all the rest. If I can inspire the mom that's just pushed a baby that wants her pre-baby body
Mm.
back, or the dad on the couch just got divorced, sipping on the beer, bit of a bop going on, like what's the next move to get out there? It's get active, get out there, get active. And I think that's where you're starting, let's say, with park run,
Yeah.
then your run series, and then there's lots more. I mean, you guys are involved with High Rocks and all sorts of stuff like that. So there's a lot of layers and levels to it. Um, what else? What else are you working on? I think you mentioned to me previously something about the oncology side and stuff like that.
Yes, so we have a very strong thought leadership leg as well in our team. So we do a lot of research. For example, um, the insights from these papers are really valuable. And it's exactly that. There's this mindset that people need to train like an athlete in order to get the health benefits of being from being active, right? But what we've seen from our research, like let's take the cancer study that we released last year, and that was published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. We took our member base and people like a year prior to their stage 1 cancer risk or cancer diagnosis. And we saw that if they did 60 minutes of exercise, like moderate to vigorous, a week, not a day, in a week, which is not really much. Like it's way under the physical activity guidelines.
Yeah.
There was a 27% lower incidence of cancer progression and a 47% lower incidence of cancer mortality or all cause mortality. So that shows you
Jeez.
just doing a little bit. And then for people that did less than 60 minutes and not nothing, even them, there was a significant risk reduction. So, and that goes across all the research that we do. If you look at mental well-being, people who just do 5,000 women that do 5,000 steps a day, or just not even every day, just
Yeah.
like 3 days a week, or exercise for 3 days a week, there's like a 37% lower incidence of dementia and less depression reporting depression claims. So it goes across so many avenues. You don't need to do a lot. And that's what we do there. We take the data, we look at what does the data tell us, and that's what informs our interventions as well.
Yeah, I think data is incredibly important. Do you guys? I'm assuming as a medical company, you guys are working on prevention more so than anything else because a healthy client base means a non-sick client base, basically, which is obviously leads to not say profits, but
Yes.
it keeps the business moving in the right direction. What what have you guys introduced in recent years from a vitality point of view that's kind of innovative or groundbreaking? I think it's always nice to hear because if you buy into Vitality properly, it's the most incredible product because there is a world of discounts and benefits and all the rest. How would you best suggest that people integrate to get the best out of it in a simplistic form? Because it
Yes,
can be very
can
complex.
be technical. So what you're referring to is the shared value model, right? And to explain it in simple terms is that the vitality program is based on like behavior economics and technology, and also public health like guidelines that we follow, right? And if you look at the member, we incentivize them and we give them rewards to adopt healthier habits in the sense of eating healthy, exercise more. And if we do that, and screenings, that's really important. So you're detecting the risk early. Then we improve their health. And in essence, like there's less claims. For the insurer, it means, again, like less claims that they need to pay out and financial stability. But for society in its entirety is also you have a healthier society, lower strain on your healthcare system, more productivity and all of that. And that's that shared value model. So in recent years, our pillars are based on know your health, where we want people to go and screen. You want to know, like, what is your cholesterol? That's a vitality health check that they do. The mental well-being assessment. We've got a fitness assessment, and we've introduced now the VO2 max that we track through your wearable device. So that's something new because we wanted people to become aware there's a difference between you being physically active and you actually being fit.
Mm.
You can be active, but not necessarily fit. And you get the health protection from moving regularly, but you can reduce that risk of developing a chronic disease or early mortality by so much more by just improving fitness. And again, the biggest benefit is from people that sits in like a low VO2 max, like cardio fitness level, that's low or poor, and they just move up a little bit into the low or poor into the next one, like a fair category. They say you can, like, there's almost like a 20 to 30 risk reduction for mortality, which is massive. Obviously that risk will reduce now as you get fitter and fitter. So that's one thing. And then the most recent one is the introduction of sleep rewards. So Vitality members can get access to our Aura device, either upfront discount of 25%, or they can actually sign up for sleep rewards. And then if you meet your sleep goals, then the device is
Sounds like
basically
a
for
great,
free,
great
right?
reward. My wife
Yeah,
would be very good at that one. She enjoys the sleep a little bit more than me.
exactly. And sleep is important, and that's another pillar that we're adding to our structure, right? Is to want people to become aware of how they sleep. A lot of people will say to you, like, I sleep quite well, but when they start tracking,
You can
it's
see
not
it.
that well,
Yeah.
right? Um, so yeah, the rewards will be based, or we track it through looking at the duration of your sleep, the quality of the sleep, so how much REM sleep, like your light sleep and your deep sleep you're getting, and then also like basic sleep hygiene. So the how within what window do you go to bed and get up? So a lot of people have different times all the time, and they don't realize how that actually disrupts
Yeah.
their sleep. So it's just to create more awareness. Also, people, like, you get lots of coffee drinkers say, "Oh, I can drink coffee until late at night," but they don't realize that it
How it
actually
affects.
affects their deep sleep, and
That's
then you wake up all groggy and stuff the next morning, although you slept.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been tracking my sleep for, and I've never been a good sleeper, and I've kind of always avoided it, and made excuse, oh, I don't need a lot, or I'll work, or have coffee before I go to bed. But since I started tracking, it's made such a huge difference. It tells you every morning where you're at from a sleep perspective. Even if you don't sleep a lot, it shows your quality of sleep. You can have a lot of sleep and have a very poor quality of sleep, high stress while you're sleeping. Big one for me is showing your sleep debt, so catching up the sleep you need for the week. And then on top of that, heart sort of ties in with your recovery. And recovery is not just for athletes; it's for
Mm.
everybody, because if you're not recovered, you are going to be totally useless that day. And whether it be work, being a parent, exercising, whatever it may be. Talk us through the Aura Ring a little bit. I mean, I know some of the other wearables. Does it help track all sorts of other things, female stuff like menstrual cycles and all the rest? Can you put that kind of info in?
Yes, definitely. So it can track your activity, your menstrual cycle. It's very much like a lot of the other devices out there, but it's really comfortable to wear when you're sleeping as well. So it really gives you a holistic view of like what is affecting your overall well-being, and it
Yeah.
gives you a really nice report. So it helps to educate members to see like a holistic view on their health as well, right? And what happens in your daily stress that happens in your life that influences it. So, for instance, like with stress, your body doesn't distinguish between work stress and exercise stress and no sleep stress. It's just stress on the body. And that's that like body battery type of thing, right? And if you have a device where you can see, for instance, the battery is a bit low and you're a bit depleted, might not be the best option then to go and do a high intensity workout that day. Maybe then opt for like a zone 2 workout. And that's how you can use those tools and the insights that you get from these devices to really inform your workouts. Maybe get to bed earlier, look at like your time, and then maybe get that power nap of 20 minutes in somewhere if you're lucky. But yeah, it
I want
really
to jump
supports
back
people.
to VO2 max, if you don't mind.
Mm.
For the layman out there, what is VO2 max? Because, a lot of people that kind of are gymming, they've heard about it, but they kind of think it's a measure for like elite athletes. Obviously, from an athlete perspective, a lot of athletes go and figure out what the VO2 max is, run on the treadmill with a mask on. How are you guys tracking it?
Cool. So first, what is VO2 max? That's the maximum amount of oxygen that your body can consume and distribute to the muscles when you're exercising at like high intensities, right? So to put it in like a practical example, if you've got a high VO2 max, it gets measured in milliliters per kilogram per minute, the milliliters of oxygen that get distributed through the kilogram of weight that you have per minute. And the higher that volume, so the higher your VO2 max, the more efficient you are. So the slower the heart needs to pump to get the oxygen through. Now, if you're in fit and your VO2 max number is lower, the heart's going to pump faster and work over time to get the oxygen through to the rest of the body.
Awesome.
Right. So if you're walking up the stairs, if you've got a low VO2 max, you might be huffing and puffing a lot more compared to somebody that's got a higher VO2 max. And that, in essence, is your metric of fitness. Um, so yeah, and it used to be this concept that athletes knew about, and they would go and do the direct VO2 max test, which is absolutely horrible. But these days, it's like on everybody's wrist, right? Most of the wearable devices now measures your VO2 max. You just need to go for ideally an outdoor run or a walk, or go for a cycle on a powered bike, and it then will estimate and give you a VO2 max reading. So in Vitality, we get VO2 max from wearable devices, the Garmin, Apple, and Samsung devices. But we also have the Vitality Fitness Assessment. So if you don't have one of those wearables, then you can also go for the test where you do a submax RAM test or a treadmill test, and then we work out what your VO2
Oh, I
max
haven't
is.
done one of those since they added that. It used to just be a
Yeah.
couple push-ups and seeing how
Yes.
terrible your mobility was. And talk us through the tests that you do with Vitality now. I mean, what are the biggest points that you can do to basically get up to gold? Because we were chatting before, and I said I used to be on diamond for many years and fell off and never really kind of climbed back on that. But it's new year, new me. Time to get back up to gold, and 3 years get onto diamond again. What's the quickest way to get there?
Cool. So the starting point is definitely to do your Vitality health check, because that's a nice chunk of 22,500 points that you can get if your metrics are in range. And obviously the HIV screening as well. And then there's if you have a fitness device, earning points every time you exercise, you can earn anything between 100 to 300 points for your workouts. Then there's parkrun on weekends where people can get 300 points. So there's lots of opportunities in physical activity that you can earn points for. We also have events like the Vitality Run Series. We give Vitality members a boost of 5,500 points.
Yeah.
But you can get up to 2,000 points when you participate in those events. Then you get points and you earn miles as well when you buy healthy food. And oh gosh, no, exceeded.
Does it ever take off if you buy unhealthy? Like if you go to Woolies and buy Chuckles, does it ever like knock you down a couple?
No,
Asking for a friend.
no, we don't subtract. But
And red wine?
interesting. We a few years ago we decided to send a mailer to some of the Vitality members to say, "Hey, we see that you're buying quite a bit of sugar," and
Oh,
we did
really?
quite a response because, "How did you know?" And then it was very interesting because it's the same type of data that we know that you're buying healthy
Yeah.
food. So, but it shows you, right? It's just people are happy to incentivize for the positive, but when you tell them, hey, that's not the best behavior, yeah, or the healthiest option for
I think
you.
that's a good thing. Hold people accountable.
Yeah.
You know, they've,
No,
they've joined it for a reason.
yeah. And that's exactly the thing with so what we've also introduced in the last year is we've got something called the habit index. So we've got the physical activity habit index where we can pick up, oh, Cameron is in the habit of walking 5,000 steps 3 times a week. And then we see every now and then you do a little bit more step. And then through nudges and in rewards, we'll nudge you like just try and walk um, more steps, one more day a week. And then you start, and people then get rewarded for that. And then I start to introduce more days of a higher step count, for instance. And then we can pick up that once they've done 3 cycles of that, they're 80% more likely to stick with that new habit. And it goes on the same side of the clinical habits that we try and get them to incentivize them for so that they take their medication and they adopt healthy behaviors around managing their chronic conditions as well. Yeah.
Do you feel like society in the last year or 2 or 5 years has become a lot more health conscious?
Definitely. People are aware, but I do think there's a lot of noise out there with a lot of um,
Quick fixes.
quick fixes, exactly. And things get kind of muddled with all the information that's out there, what the true science is, and it gets complicated then. And it's actually very simple. If you think about eating healthy, stick to clean, unprocessed foods, cook your own food, stay away from the takeaways, um, quality, nutritionally dense food. That's
Yeah.
it, right? Exercise, just move more. Like cut down sedentary time, look at your step count, try and get at least 5,000 or more steps a day, even though you exercise, and then just try and exercise, uh, add some variety of intensity to your workout. So it doesn't need to be this complicated exercise program. Keep it simple, but do something that you can repeat again in the week and that you find enjoyable. That's the thing. Because people can make it very complicated. And then what happens is they just leave everything.
Where do you think most people's injuries are coming from? And that's a big generalization, but where do you think people are getting injured the most?
I would say, personally, one is doing too much too soon, as definitely the strongest one. Um, I'll use my husband as an example, recovering from a calf injury. And then he's like, oh, I ran half an hour on the treadmill. I'm feeling good. And then we go run on the trail. And next thing he's like, we're 5Ks. No, we're 5Ks in. All good. Let's do another 2K 7. Okay, you should stop now because now you've already done more. Now let's try 10. No. And that's it. Feels good now. Let's go
Yeah.
not just 10%
I'll
more.
stop when it hurts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So definitely doing too much too soon because you need to allow the connective tissue to adapt, and that's especially like applicable to running. It's not just your muscles that needs to get stronger. Connective tissue also needs to adapt. So that's the one thing. The other injury is just pushing hard all the time. It's I used to do that. I like to work out hard and must feel like a suffer session every session, but it does come back and catch up with you later on. Your
Yeah.
body can't actually keep on with that strain. And if you do that type of training, trying to at least track what you do so that you build it up for 4 or 5 weeks, but you have to drop down. And it doesn't then mean for a week you do absolutely nothing. Could be active recovery, but you need to start tracking your workouts plan just to make sure that you allow adaptation to actually happen because you're training hard and then it's like having a sore and you just keep scratching it. You
Yeah.
don't actually allow it to heal for the muscle to grow and adaptation to happen in all the systems in the body. You're just breaking it down all the time. And you often will find you'll see your power goes down, your speed comes down, can't lift as heavy weights. And if you actually and you might even take a full week recovery, not doing anything,
Yeah.
you're not going to lose any fitness. You're going to come back feeling much stronger, and the training effect can actually just settle in.
Do you think that's where a lot of people think they've plateaued, but they should be working some sort of training block, or us who compete, you'd say you'd have a taper week as an example, because then your performance then bounces back up. I've got an interesting question. A lot of fitness racing these days is very linear, and that suits a lot of people. Are people lacking lateral movement building for those linear races?
Yes. So definitely as a biokineticist, if you just keep in a straight line, so maybe just to clarify, linear and lateral is if you're running and cycling, you're moving in a straight line and your joints move in the same plane all the time. And then suddenly you go play, say, a racket sport, or you need to go outside, you're going to play with your buddies some soccer. And there's lots of lateral movement at speed as well. It's at force production, and then you got to slow the body down and change direction. Joints and ligaments and tendons is not trained to do that.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing an Achilles pop or lots of injuries come or knees go. So you have to train the body into those scenarios so that the tension in the joints can also adapt to the various planes that you exposing to.
Strength training for women. Do you
Yes.
want to just talk how important that is?
Yes, I'm a big advocate. I think the first time I was in gym was in standard 4. We were still in standard, so I'm
Yeah.
giving my age away. Um, and yeah, I think times are changed. I can see you go walk into the gym and there's a lot more women on the weight section, which I'm so happy about
Yeah.
because previous years, they will keep the treadmills full and they would be too scared to actually do weight training because they might look bulky. And the problem was that the images that they looked at wasn't women as necessarily clean.
Yeah.
It's and just from experience, it's really hard to put on muscle for a woman. You can do heavy weights and train a lot. It's not easy. But it's so important for women. And if you think about, from like in your 30s, you start to lose muscle mass every year. And when you hit premenopause and menopause, your risk of osteoporosis and low bone density doesn't just slowly and gradually go up, it escalates. And that's where weight training comes in. So every time a muscle pulls, it pulls onto the bone and it helps to strengthen the bone as well. And also that's why I like movements like plyometrics is so important for women. So yeah, strength training absolutely critical. The other thing for me personally was like I want to be strong so that when my kids get older, I can still do stuff with them. So I don't want to be the mom, have to sit on the side and just see them go. So now we're very competitive.
So, as in your role, speaking to women specifically, what what would a woman's ideal workout week look like? I know everyone's different, but what should everyone be incorporating? I'm doing Pilates, love it, because I just know a strong core means you can go harder, you can lift heavier, your whole body's more in sync. What, and that's a lot of guys won't know that.
Yes.
But from a female side, and that's why I asked about strength training. What do you think all women should be doing? How should they balance it?
All right, so let's create a scenario. You've got a woman with young kids. Okay, so I think that's always the tricky part to find the time to exercise. So for that woman, I would say try and do some form of strength training at least twice a week. And your form of strength training could just be body weight exercises, some lunges, some squats at your house. There are lots of YouTube videos that you can put on if you
Everything.
don't have a clue what to
Yeah.
do. Incorporate some plyometrics, just some jumps. It could just be jumping on the spot, a skipping rope, those type of exercises. And then later, as you feel like you're getting stronger, you can get some weights or then sign up for the gym, right? But that takes time to get to the gym. Um, so yeah, strength training twice a week, and then you need to do exercises where your heart actually pumps faster and you're getting out of breath. That's where the health benefits comes from, and we're improving our fitness. So either take the kids to a park run on a Saturday. So you've got 2 strength days, and then at least 3 cardio days. So we're not talking necessarily 5 days. It could be 3 days
Yeah.
where I do some cardio at
Put it
home,
together.
maybe go run or walk around the block. If there's a steep hill, walk it fast.
Mm.
You can work out a little circuit in the house, get the kids involved if you can't leave them.
Yeah.
There's jumping jacks and squats that you can do to get your heart rate up as well. So you need to find something that suits your environment that you know that you're going to get to. If it's impossible for you to get to the gym, then don't take that route because you're not going to stick to the plan. But yeah, cardio training 2 or 3 times a week, strength training twice a week. Definitely exercise like Pilates are great, but make sure that you build that muscle and get stronger.
Slow and steady, not too fast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Advice for people at different decades and life stages. A male or female in their 20s is not built the same as a male or female in their 40s. Can you just talk us through each of them? Maybe what's the most important to focus on, in your opinion?
Sure. So let's talk about 20 to 30s. Um, this is the time when you're most resilient, right? So you can get away with anything.
Yeah.
So you can basically almost train the way you want. You can do a high intensity every day if you want, and you can kind of get away with it without getting injured necessarily because everything is on your side. Like muscles and joints are still flexible and resilient. But that's a time where you need to start develop like healthy habits around exercise and some consistency. Then 30 to 40s, life gets a bit trickier. This might be getting married and some kids and all of that. Um, there it's important to prioritize dedicated strength training time, because remember, after your 30s, your body will start to, you lose some muscle mass, and then improving on the cardiovascular exercises as well. So again, same thing. And then becomes really tricky 40 to 50. Now, strength training becomes even more important for women, and I'll say for men as well. Um, and men, maybe the cardio training, because risk of cardiovascular disease is much increase if maybe cholesterol's out of range and you might not have the best eating habits and you've got some metrics that's out of range. Definitely prioritizing a combination of high intensity training, zone two. So high intensity could be at the end of a zone two. It doesn't mean a whole session of it. So short intervals with rest periods, right? Um, and for women, same thing, but more important is strength training in addition to the cardiovascular exercises. When you get to 50s, 60s on, um, s- again, as you get older, strength training becomes more important. Now the intensity might come down a little bit. You know, might do less impact exercises, maybe cycling more because the joints are not that resilient
Walking
anymore.
rather than running.
Fast walking rather than running, maybe depends on your history of injuries and all of that. Balance exercises and grip strength, right?
Okay.
Grip strength is absolutely critical. If you think about it, if you trip and fall and you grab to hold on to something, it's how strong my grip is that's actually going to help hold
Yeah.
me up. But if your grip is not strong, and it also indicates of your overall body strength. So little things like farmers walks with kettlebells or weights or
Okay.
some heavy water bottles, what you've got around the house, but prioritizing strength as you get older, balance exercises, and then just general physical activity like walking lots. Um, yeah, make sure that you get your steps in every day.
You touched on zone two there. A lot of people heard about it, but don't know what it is. You know, you hear someone going, go for a zone two run, or I was this, and then people start talking about thresholds and stuff like that. Do you want to just talk about the different zones or what it means?
Yeah, so what we talked about earlier is about making sure that you've got a variety of intensities into your exercise plan for the week. So zone two means it's at a lower heart rate threshold. So I prefer using like RPE, the rate of perceived exertion. It's like how you feel. So I'll usually tell people zone two is when you can have a conversation when you exercise, but you don't want to have a big fat chat.
Yeah.
Can't finish full sentences. You need to like gasp for air.
Yeah.
So if you look at heart rate, roughly around 60, 70% of your max heart rate, it's definitely not a light stroll, taking your time shopping the shopping mall. That's
Yeah.
like a zone one or maybe not even.
Zero.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a zone two. It's great for recovery days. I introduced that a couple of years ago because, yeah, I just thought I can't just train hard all the time. And it was hard initially because it felt like I was loafing. It's now my most enjoyable session. Put a Netflix series on, I listen to a podcast, and especially at the end of a training week where you do feel tired and you need a bit of recovery, you slot that zone two in.
So that's your active recovery for
It's
most.
like a active recovery, exactly. Yeah, so I try and do that once or twice a week. And then the next is you've got is like if you talk zones like a 3 and 4, that would be higher, a bit higher heart rate, like say 70 to 80%. That's usually when you'll go for a run a longer duration and your average heart rate must sit around that zone. Uh, don't overdo that zone. It's better to actually focus more on the upper and the lower ends of it. So obviously runners will sit in that zone because they train specific for events. But if you want to improve, say, your VO2 max, it's either a longer duration of the zone two or doing higher intensity. And maybe to clarify, high intensity interval training is not an hour class necessarily of high intensity. What the actual meaning is, you can have intervals that's the 4x4 that's very popular. So you do a set of exercises like the air down or bicycle, or you run sprints or kettlebell swings for 4 minutes. And you want to get that heart rate up to at least over 75, 80% of your max heart rate. And then you recover for 4 minutes. So full recovery, or as much as you can recover in the 4 minutes, and then you go again. And you do about 4 rounds of that, not like necessarily a full hour.
Yeah.
That's also very beneficial to improve your VO2 max. And then there's another type of intervals, which is heart, like 95% of your max heart rate for 30 seconds. And then you recover for a minute and a half. And that's when people, when you talk about these things, they think of these things as like hour sessions and how I'm going to fit everything in. But it could be a zone 2 for 45 minutes and you just finish it off with a couple of 30-second sprints at the end of it.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of them, that's enough.
Mix it up.
Exactly, mix it up. Or if you want to do weight training, make your weight training routine your other interval. Kettlebell swings, some lunges, box jumps, some burpees. Now you get cardio, but you stimulating the muscles as well.
So your guys' relationship with Planet Fitness specifically, how does it benefit the people who train? How does it benefit you guys?
So that goes back to like the shared value model, right? So for Vitality as a wellness program as part of Discovery Insurer, one of the interventions that we put in place is creating access for people to be active in the scenario. And that happens through a heavily like discounted membership fee through Planet Fitness. And that enables people to come to gym and exercise. On top of that, we now incentivize them for working out. So you get points every time you exercise. And you can go and redeem those points, which pays out in miles, and you can go buy something on the miles mall. So double reward system. So now through this incentive system, you're encouraging people to be more active. So signing up to the gym, hopefully exercising more regularly because we know Vitality members are more engaged in the platform. And if they wear wearable devices, even more so, and they have better health outcomes. And that return, you making them healthier, and it just in society lowers down the burden on the healthcare system.
Okay, in closing, before we finish up, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to encourage people. It might sound like a lot, and there's so much to do to be healthier, but through the research that we've done and from what we've seen every day, just start small. Just start to try and track your steps initially. Um, Set tiny goals for yourself to make a positive change. Where it is trying to eat healthier, just go to bed at a regular time and try and get better quality sleep in, or like I said, more steps, or just going to a park run once. Try not to overdo it and do everything at once. Start with small steps, and that elicits actually big changes.
Awesome. So 1% better every day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Marie, thanks so much for joining us in the Blue Room.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.